Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's session. We'll just start in a couple of minutes. Before we start, could you quickly confirm if I'm audible? You can do so by typing a yes in the chat box if you can hear me clearly. All right, great. I see a couple of yeses. Thanks, Joe. Thanks, Sajida. Great. We'll just wait for a couple of minutes and then we'll start. Hello, everyone, once again. I still see a couple of participants trickling in, but in the interest of time, let's start. So, welcome everyone to today's masterclass. We will be covering the topic generative AI in action and how the industry trends are faring out in 2025 and the skills you need in 2025 to upskill in your career. And today's session will be taken by our industry expert, Arbaz Munshi. So before we start, I'll just quickly give you an introduction. So Arbaz is a leading expert in DevOps, data analytics, cloud, and generative AI domain, and has years of experience in guiding professionals through their career growth in the cloud and AI space. He has mentored thousands through industry focused webinars, hands on workshops, and providing deep insights into the right career path, in taking up the right job roles, and upskilling people in the emerging technology trends across. And today he will be taking you through the session. Before I hand over the webinar to him, I'll quickly take you through the flow. So we have kept this webinar in a listen only mode. So all you can do is interact via the chat window or the Q&A tab. If you have any questions, and please do keep it interactive, you can ask your questions in the chat window or the Q&A tab, and we'll take it up throughout the session. And with that, I'll hand over the session to Arbaz.
Thank you so much, Smriti, for such a wonderful introduction. So, hi everyone. First of all, a very good evening and welcome to the webinar today, right? So, before I could begin, if you could just confirm if my voice is audible and also you can hear me well, and at the same time the screen is visible, I would request you to make the maximum utilization of the Q&A or the chat. And if you could just confirm, that would be very helpful. Thank you so much, Shreya. Thank you, Sajida. Appreciate it. Thanks, Radhika. Now, today's webinar that we're going to have, right? This is going to give you an enhancement of knowledge because a lot of people these days are talking about generative AI, right? So this webinar is going to be completely about generative AI in action, which is going to be giving you a good amount of glimpse around the current industry trends and the skills that you require in 2025, right? So let's begin with this. Let me walk you through today's agenda. Smriti, if you could just go to the next slide. Thank you so much. So we're going to talk about firstly is the power of generative AI. We're gonna, deep dive, have an understanding about the generative AI trends that we have. We'll also cover the Microsoft Azure AI, followed by why generative AI for business. Followed by that, I'll walk you through the program details that we have for the generative AI program. And of course, we'll do the live Q&A. So since Smithy mentioned during this conversation, to keep it interactive, I like the sessions to be interactive since this is going to be on listen only mode. So I would humbly request to all the participants that we have joining us across to make the maximum utilization of the Q&A or the chat box, right? I'll try to answer all your queries. Now, for those of the questions, let's say if there is a bandwidth issue or there is something that I cannot answer at this point of the time, do not worry about it. I'll get back to you via email. So do not worry about that. I'll ensure to clarify all the doubts and queries that you would have precisely, right? Moving on, let's go to the next slide. Let's try to understand the power of generative AI with this, right? Now, what is generative AI? A lot of people are talking about it, right? So generative AI basically is a set of algorithms that is basically used to create various types of contents, right? It could be in a form of a text, it could be image, it could also be video or audio for that matter of fact, right? So some of the most popular tools that you might all be aware of is DALI and ChatGPT for that matter of fact. So these are some of the most recent examples that are basically, built on the foundations of generative AI, right? Now, how is this generative AI transforming the business, right? Now, if you look around, a lot of the companies, globally, they have already adopted the generative AI technology, right? It could be for expanding the labor productivity, it's for personalizing the customer experience. It's for, accelerating the research and development through generative AI design, or it could also be on building new business models as well. Now, the possibility of, tapping into the benefits of generative AI, this is going to continue, right? Which is apparently going to grow within an, expected 15.7 trillion contribution by the global economy by 2030. That is what it's expected. It could eventually far reach, right? So with this, I just want to show you a glimpse of the agents altogether, which is Manus, which the entire world is talking about right now. So if you could just play this for us, Smithy, that would be helpful.
Hi, I'm Pete from Manus AI. For the past year, we've been quietly building what we believe is the next evolution in AI. And today, we're launching an early preview of Manus, the first general AI agent. This isn't just another chatbot or workflow. It's a truly autonomous agent that bridges the gap between conception and execution. While other AI stops at generating ideas, Manus delivers results. We see it as the next paradigm of human-machine collaboration, and potentially a glimpse into AGI. Now let me show you Manus in action across 3 completely different tasks. Let's start with an easy one. In this example, we'll ask Manus to help screen resumes. I've just sent Manus a zip file containing 10 resume documents. Since each Manus session has its own computer, it can work like a human. First unzipping the file, then browsing through each resume page by page, and recording important information to documents. Manus works asynchronously in the cloud, which means you can close your laptop anytime, and Manus will notify you when everything is complete. Of course, you can also give Manus new instructions at any time. Here I've sent Manus 5 more resumes. After carefully reading all 15 resumes, Manus provides the ranking suggestions along with candidate profiles and evaluation criteria as supporting materials. This is pretty good, but I prefer a spreadsheet. Let's have Manus create one. Manus has its own knowledge and memory, so it can teach Manus that the next time it handles a similar task, it will deliver a spreadsheet right away. In this example, we'll have Manus conduct some research. It needs to filter New York properties based on multiple criteria. For complex tasks, Manus first breaks them down and creates a to-do list. Manus begins by searching and carefully reading articles about the safest neighborhoods. Then Manus researches middle schools in New York. Next, Manus writes a Python program to calculate my budget. Based on my budget, Manus filters listings on real estate websites. Finally, combining all the information gathered, Manus writes a detailed report and compiles all the resources. In this example, we have Manus perform a correlation analysis between stocks. For professional data, Manus can access authoritative data sources through APIs. After validating the acquired data, Manus begins writing code for data analysis and visualization. For Manus, coding isn't necessarily the goal, but rather a universal tool for solving problems. It looks like Manus has completed the data analysis and visualization. But interactive data visualization is even cooler, so I asked Manus to create a website based on these data. With my permission, Manus deploys the finished website online and provides me with a shareable link. Let's see what Manus has created. What you've just seen is just a small sample of what Manus can do. In fact, on benchmarks designed to evaluate general AI assistants, an early checkpoint of Manus has already achieved state-of-the-art performance, and it's only getting better. Beyond benchmarks, Manus has been solving real-world problems on platforms like Upwork and Fiverr, and has proven its capabilities on Kaggle competitions. This wouldn't be possible without the amazing open-source community, which is why we're committed to giving back. Manus operates as a multi-agent system powered by several distinct models, so later this year, we're going to open source some of these models specifically post-trained for Manus, inviting everyone to explore this agentic future together. The name Manus comes from the famous motto, Mens at Manus, mind and hand. It embodies the belief that knowledge must be applied to make a meaningful impact on the world. And this is precisely the promise of Manus AI, to extend your capabilities, amplify your impact, and be the hand that brings your mind's vision into reality. We can't wait to see what you will achieve with Manus.
Great. Thank you so much. That was a little about the AI agents at work, right? So there's been a lot that's been apparently going on with AI agent these days, right? So one of which I wanted you guys to watch it. You could also check this video on YouTube that's available as well on the AI agents. Now let's try to understand why now get into the world of AI altogether, right? So, I'm just sharing you certain report that's coming from McKinsey altogether, right? So if you look at it, there are smaller shares of respondents when we look at this report that are related to AI hiring roles altogether, right? So we have validated between 2022, 2023, and 2024, right? Now, if you look at it, let that be design specialist, data visualization specialists, prompt engineers, translators, data engineers, then we've got AI product owners and managers, to data architects, to AI compliance specialists, to AI data scientists, and the AI ethics specialist as well. That respondents are eventually decreasing, right? If you look at it, we have got people who do not tend to have the expertise. If you look back way in 2022, there were more respondents that were there, and now the hiring managers across the globe are eventually facing this challenge, right? Based on the demand versus supply. So there's a lot of gap that's out there in the job market for the positions for the uh, AI professionals altogether, right? And there are various factors and reasons for this, which I'll try to cover as well, right? But moving on, I want to show you uh, how the organizations are using AI, which is actually having an acceleration in the market based on the past year after years, and a little meaningful change that what we see, right? So if you look at uses of generative AI versus the uses of AI, right? So uses of the AI is been there since 2017. We have always seen a rise that has been going around with AI related jobs that's been happening, right? Versus if you look at there's a spike wherein we can see an uptick that's happened from 2023 to 2024, and then 2025 is again going on the top if you look at it, right? Now, why is this happening? Because the answer to this is very simple. The organizations right now have increased, the usability of AI into multiple functions altogether. There are 98% CEOs across the globe who have initiated a strategy to get into generative AI, wherein organizations have already been utilizing it as well. I'm not sure if you're aware of not aware of this. There are a lot of layoffs that you see right now, which is happening, because of generative AI, right? It's eventually reducing, the cost of the people and things like that. So there are a lot of people who are eventually scared, right? That generative AI is going to eat the jobs, which is a lot of people have this thought process. But to be a little precise, it's not that. If you see the CEO of NVIDIA, eventually he came on a public domain or public podium, you could say, and he said that programming is dead, right? So professionals who had an exposure to programming, who eventually studied, mastered, did a lot of certifications, and equipped themselves with the skill rubrics of coding and programming, for that matter of fact, they were really all worried because it took them to so much of time. And the folks who were IT professionals, they were never scared of, getting into a mass layoff and things like that. But what is that we need to depict here is what he was trying to say here, or if I may have to quote it correctly, he was trying to say to all of us that we all need to collaborate with generative AI, right? The idea there is to collaborate. Why? Because eventually the entire world right now is using generative AI altogether, right? Which we will also try to look around on how that's been happening. But if you look at this chart right now, there the usability has increased, right? If you could see, one or more functions way in the second half of 2024 has increased from 56 to 78. Similarly, if you go for two or more functions, it's increased from 31 to 63. Three or more functions have increased to 17 to 45. Similarly, you have 9 to 28 and 4 to 16 altogether, right? So this means what? Every industry is eventually using the power of AI these days, right? Now, I wanted to give you a trend. So if you can go to the next slide. Thank you so much, Smriti. So 41.43 CAGR by 2030. So that means the market size is expected to be shown at an annual growth rate between 2025 to 2030 of 41.43%. Now, this is resulting in a market volume of close to $6.28 billion by 2030, right? Now, over the period of 7 years, which is 2023, 24 to 29 and 30, now Gen AI's contribution would translate to 1.2 trillion to 1.5 trillion. This is accumulated GDP impact. This is a source that's also available on Ernst and Young India. You could also refer to. And this is the best part that I would like to talk about. The source that we've got from is Deloitte India. So the Gen AI users across Asia Pacific save 6.3 hours per week, with the range of Indian users saving 7.8 hours per week. Now, this is enabling employees to acquire new skills. Eventually, based on the tasks that we do every day, now with the usability of generative AI, we have shortened it down, right? So majority of the people are saving time these days is because of generative AI. So we see this a lot. A lot of people who do not have an exposure in coding right now are using codecs just writing prompts and they have the code right there. It's saving them a lot of time. They don't have to go through libraries. They don't have to eventually, go back to everything that they had to do earlier, right? So that's a very time consuming thing that's been happening. You just write in a simple prompt, and there you have your answers right there, right? So it eventually is helping everyone, and I'm sure everybody right now is using that. Now I want to share another trend. This is to do with the salaries right now. The reference for this is from sixfigure.com. You can refer Glassdoor, you can refer LinkedIn. There are a lot of references that are out there that I would strongly recommend everyone to go and check, right? So the generative AI salaries that we were eventually verifying for, right? So this is the average of 2025 that I'm trying to tell you all, right? So if you look at it, the male when we talk about the male, why male here? Is because a lot of men are eventually getting into Gen AI right now, right? It could be obvious reasons with all of that, right? So the average salary that we've been able to identify is close to around 39 lakh rupees, right? In India. Wherein in women, when we are looking at that, that was going to somewhere ranging around 24 lakhs altogether. So that's one of the trends. I would also recommend you to check this on, PayScale, Glassdoor, Six Figure, LinkedIn Jobs, and all of that. You will get a good fair share of an idea as well, right? Now, let me give you a reference point of example for the generative AI job trends again. Now, the generative AI industry eventually is set to create, 1 million new jobs. That's by 2028. Now, that is significantly going to boost the GDP. This is from the Economic Times altogether. Now, why it matters? It's very simple. AI is revolutionizing the entire industries right now. Let that be let that be finance, let that be healthcare, let that be manufacturing, supply chain. You talk about any industry, the utilization is way too higher when it comes to the AI streamline right now, right? And one of the most demand of the AI roles that you would see is LLM engineers, AI specialists, data scientists. This is surging a lot, right? And this is where, if I may have to suggest you, upskilling is very crucial to stay ahead, in this AI-driven job market altogether. So upskilling plays a very important role, right? And this is where, we need to understand that we will have to change. We will have to shift from what we've been doing. And most importantly, this change has to be in a very shorter period of time, right? That is what plays an important role here. So you cannot invest a lot of your time eventually getting stuck into learning a technology which takes you more time, right? So that's where we've got this program that's in collaboration with Microsoft, which is Microsoft Azure and OpenAI. And I guess everybody knows Azure and OpenAI altogether. So this program is in collaboration with Microsoft and Microsoft Azure and OpenAI. So it's built around the fundamental principle of learning by doing, right? So what it does is it eventually helps the professional to firstly build hands-on skills and then transition into a fast growing domains like data and AI, right? So it's called Generative AI for Business with Microsoft Azure OpenAI. It would eventually be a 16 weeks online learning journey. So this program teaches you on how you can leverage the large language models, which is called LLMs, and prompt engineering to build a data-driven services to solve business problems, right? You will learn the power of generative AI, which is currently, changing the entire face of digital innovation for that matter of fact, right? So here you learn prompt engineering with and without coding. So for your reference, with and without coding, both will be there. You will have a certificate of completion by Great Learning and Microsoft together, since it's a only co-branded certification that exists with Microsoft, right? You would also have an access to Microsoft Azure Lab. You will have an access to OpenAI Studio. You will have an access to OpenAI Playground as well, right? So that's a little bit about the program. Moving on, why generative AI for business? To be a little precise with, right? So almost all the business operation process, right? It can be automated with the help of generative AI. It could be ranging from data analysis to software development to customer support, right? And it goes in major businesses which can give an advantages of use cases of using generative AI, which can also, help to summarize as follows. So let's say you want to improve the customer interactions via automation or self-service across all touch points. It could be to automate high volume of tasks such as processing refunds or claims and software development tasks for that matter of fact. Or it could it could also be to help your teams understand the importance of unstructured data such as invoices and feedback reports or performance reviews for that matter of fact, right? I think let me see, there are some questions here. Okay, Radhika has a question. Can we understand generative AI has in day-to-day basis? So we could understand the primary. Okay, I would just give you some sort of examples on generative AI level by level so that it becomes quite easier for everyone to have an understanding upon. I would just request you to allow me 4 to 5 minutes and then I would jump on that. Right. Now moving on the hands-on learning. So talking about this program to be a little specific with, this is going to have 8+ hands-on case studies and 4 hands-on projects. So when I talk about hands-on experience, this is going to be on the cutting edge generative AI tools where you can explore the Azure OpenAI service capabilities. This would include Microsoft OpenAI. It's going to have API key, Python SDKs, so that you have the learning content by yourself, which could help you to do text classification and summarization. You would also have the hands-on demonstration on the most popular tools that would include ChatGPT, DALI, and Blip as well, right? Adding on to this particular content, there is also going to be agentic AI. Agentic AI is very similar to what did you see on Manus right now. So that is going to be inclusive, where you will learn about agentic AI modules as well. Now, for the question that was asked, this is something which can give you an example on a very layman perspective. If I may have to talk about generative AI, so you can think of it as there are 5 levels of generative AI, right? Now, please understand this concept well so that you can eventually connect the dot well altogether, right? So when I say level 1 of generative, somebody, you could be somebody who wants to use maybe ChatGPT or DALI for that matter of fact. You're a very tool centric person. Your usability is just to use the tool in the right manner. That's the level 1 of generative AI. Now, level 2 of generative AI, if I may have to talk about, let me give you a reference point of example. So let's say you are eventually, working in sales or marketing for that matter of fact, and there's a lot of data that you eventually predominantly have. So let's say you work in a company that has global clienteles across the world. You have more than 1 million to 2 million customers for that matter of fact, right? And you want to drive insights. You can't run towards your analyst or data scientist to find the data, fix that data and all of that. Instead, you could just, drive insights of that entire data by yourself. You can start questioning that data. You can ask that data, what's going to be my revenue for the next 2 years of time? How can I eventually do a little bit of lesser spend analysis on my marketing? How can I improve my profitability index? And these are the kind of reports that you can eventually build, right? This process is also called as data GPT for that matter of fact, wherein your stakeholder can further go ahead and ask questions to the data, and it is going to answer all the questions out as well. So that becomes level 2 of generative AI. Level 3, there are a lot of research papers, there are a lot of white papers that has been published in last few days. A lot of people are also talking about few shot, zero shot, chain of thought prompting and things like that. When you get into the nitty-gritties of prompt engineering, right? And then, for example, you want to go a little beyond than that. You want to use the ecosystem or build the entire ecosystem of generative AI in your organization, for that matter of fact. That's the level 3. Now, level 4 could be, let's say you build an entire ecosystem. You want to function on the, LLMs and then LLM ops, for that matter of fact, sorry. And you want to change the temperature or the variability into the system prompts, for that matter of fact. Or, you want to add drags and you want to go a little beyond that, right? So that's the level 4. Level 5 goes a little ahead. So let's say you want to build a fully functional query chatbot that can talk, right? So, or it could be, you want to eventually go a little beyond than that and get into uh, responsible AI, because what is more important, uh, having the AI to do things responsibly is more important, right? So there was a recent case study, not taking much of the time, I would tell you. So there was this one of the airline companies. So what they eventually did is, they placed an AI bot, right? So the customer eventually goes to the bot and he wants to travel from point A to point B, right? So he was traveling somewhere. And then the bot said, okay, I've got the flight. This is the flight time, and this is how much it's going to cost. So, customer being customer asked for a discount. So, the bot eventually was behaving very good. It gave a discount. Customer got intrigued since it's a bot. So, customer went ahead and asked for another discount. So, the customer eventually got another discount. So, he kept asking. So, the fair price went down really way low. Okay. So the moment the customer went to board the flight, he was being rejected to fly because the ticket was way too cheaper and the airline company didn't allow this. Now, since this happened in the Western country, so you know how things function there. So eventually this customer went ahead and sued the company altogether, and there was a case that eventually happened as well, wherein fortunately the customer won the case and he eventually got what he wanted. But what was happening wrong here is, the AI went wrong. There was hallucination that happened, right? So eventually we need to add some kind of ethics as well as responsibility as well for AI. It's not just about building it. There are a lot of things that can go wrong with AI. So eventually there is ethical AI and responsible AI. That's out there. So that's also part of level 5. Level 6 goes advanced. It's like you given entire intelligence to AI to function by itself. So that's the level 6 of AI. So eventually you could be somebody, depending upon how your usability is, how your use case is, or how you want to leverage to use AI, it's going to be different. You could be somebody who wants to make a career out of this, maybe wants to change your domain from this domain to some other domain. You want to get there, right? So you could be there, or you could be eventually somebody working in an R&D. You want to make the utilization of generative AI and use it in your domain, for that matter of fact. Or you could be somebody who is an IT professional who wants to use the technology to use it in day in and day out, in your work. So that's one of it as well, right? So yeah, that's the level of AIs. I hope I have answered that question well. So there's another question by Tarun Gupta. You mentioned Gen AI will create 1 million jobs. How can non-tech people survive such a challenging environment? They cannot turn into LLM engineers or data scientists in 16 weeks time. I think, Tarun, what a wonderful question that you asked. So when I mentioned these days, you do not require to code, right? You do not require to code. And Tarun, if you want to have a complete understanding of this, I would very highly recommend you to eventually, go to our website. You can check the generative AI program, right? Or the best thing is you can talk to our generative AI consultant who's got an entire expertise. You can see how non-technical professionals are eventually doing this program and how they are leveraging it right now. So there are various wide range of people who are doing this program. In fact, when I was talking about NVIDIA, one of NVIDIA's director is doing this program. I'm not sure if you have heard of Hanuman AI. It's again a GPT model that's going to be published in multilingual languages of India. So it could be Kannada, Hindi, Marathi, and so on. So it's in a development stage right now. So the board of the statutory member is eventually doing this program, right? Because when I talk about this content of this program has been built by Connor Hagen. He's one of the directors in Microsoft. He sits in the US office in Microsoft. That's been entirely built by him. So there is going to be an additional content of AI 900, wherein you can eventually apply for a skill badge as well, which you'll also be applicable for. So there are a lot of things out there. So what I would recommend you guys is, since you would come at a very different use case for that matter of fact, you can connect with our generative AI consultants and they'll be able to help you and guide you more further. So let me quickly check if there are any further questions. Great question. Shreya has a question. Shreya Chattopadhyay. Does the syllabus include on how to build agentic AI using different case studies and strategies to avoid hallucinations? You will have agentic AI that's going to be covered, Shreya. Let me quickly check if there are any further questions. So Nabendu asks, in telecom agents AI used, what are those? Nabendu, if you could help me understand, are you referring to the IVRs? Okay, Prashant has a question. What's the cost of the program? The cost would be 1,20,000 plus taxes. However, there are certain scholarships that are being running in. You can connect with the generative AI consultants. They'll be able to guide you properly, because you don't have to pay everything in one go. You might have to only pay an admission fees at initial stage, which is 23,600, and the rest you can convert to EMIs. What is the certification name, if I may ask for? No, what I was saying is what is the certification name, if I may know? No, no. Well, when I was referring to AI 900, AI 900's content will be a part of the program. It's not entirely AI 900. It has just an additionally been added. You can eventually write the exam there on Microsoft page, and then you can get that as well. So Nabendu, what I would request is, I think you should connect to our generative AI consultant. Reason being is that you can eventually get a lot of understanding there, right? So that is what I would strongly recommend to you. Now I'm going to do one thing to make it a little convenient and easier. I'm just going to attach a form link here, right? So I would request you to fill this form. Now, here you just need to enter your email address and your name and your mobile number. You could also mention how would you rate today's session as well. That would be very helpful for us for doing the further sessions as well. Yeah. Satish Kumar has a question. Do we learn Azure fundamentals and get certified? Uh, Not really, because we don't cover the Azure fundamentals here. That becomes very cloud. That's something that's covered under cloud. You will have an accessibility to Azure though. Azure Lab would be a part of this. So there are some questions in Q&A. Let me check. Okay, Sumit Sharma, I'm from Mainframe Professionals. Are the tools compatible for mainframe platform? Okay, let me answer this for you. You need to go a little bit deeper altogether. If you could just specify, Sumit, what are the current tools that you're functioning on? That would be very helpful. Okay, there's no answer from Sumit. Joe is asking question at what level of AI ethics specialists fall under. It depends on case study to case study basis, Joe, but we do have subjects that eventually go on to responsible AI and ethical AI as well. To get deeper into this, because it's a very wide concept, I would recommend you to fill that form and connect with the consultant. You can have a brief discussion about this. Okay, there's another question. There are so many LLM and applications coming up every day. When you open LinkedIn, you'll be flooded with such updates. How can we keep up to pace? So Tarun, the answer is quite simple. To be very precise, when we talk about a technology like generative AI, while I was discussing this, I also mentioned you can do it with and without coding, right? So I also quoted the CEO of NVIDIA mentioning programming is dead. So what I was trying to say is, so when I was explaining this level one, level two, level three, and so on, there are various jobs that are out there, right? So which includes this. Now, if you just see that the message that you mentioned right now, flooded with jobs, if you see as of today, when I checked last this morning, there were close to 65,000 plus job opportunities all we had there, right? Now, that makes it quite essential. Now, there are all the jobs that are moving towards generative AI. Now, how do we take a leverage out of this? So it's a very tool-driven setup that's been happening. The environment is in that pace. And also, when we talk about this program, it gives you the basics of Python as well. And to be a little precise, Python is not a very difficult programming language to learn. So A, you could learn Python and get into it, or B, if you do not learn as well, you will learn how to pick the right code. That is what is required, right? It's more like a drag and drop thing. So that is how you can stay updated. So Charmi Patel says, I'm from academics. Which kind of basic modules we can add in curriculum for master's students? So Charmi, it depends on how professionals are using it. It could be for analytics, to have a business analysis, for that matter of fact. If you cover that, definitely there could be a lot of modules. The reference I would give is eventually utilizing ChatGPT, for that matter of fact. I think that's pretty much it. I think that's pretty much it what we have for now. I think I've answered all the questions. So I would request you folks to eventually fill this form, and eventually this is going to be very helpful. And eventually, if there would be any questions that you have there, I would try reaching you out and I'll try to answer that as well. Thank you so much, folks, for joining in today with us. I'm sure the session might have been quite insightful for you. Over to you, Smithy.
Thank you, Arbaz, for taking the session. And thank you, everyone, for attending it and taking time out. Before we wrap up, I do see that we still have people asking questions. What you can always do is fill in the form that we are floating in our chat box, and we will get the right consultant to get in touch with you. I'll keep this session live for a couple of minutes and then close it. Please do click on the link and fill the form, and our team will get in touch with you. Thank you once again.